The Great Hall of Prime floated in the cold silence of space. It was a massive station, built by 12 different species over thousands of years. Here, the Galactic Assembly met to discuss trade, war, and the fate of worlds. Today, they would discuss Earth. Ambassador Ho stood alone at the center of the hall. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. Around him, creatures of all shapes and sizes watched from their seats. Some had scales, some had fur, some had no bodies at all, just floating clouds of light. All of them looked at the human with curiosity or disgust. The delegation sat in the highest seats. They were proud warriors, tall and covered in thick blue skin. Their empire had conquered 47 worlds. They had never lost a war. Their supreme commander stood at the front of his group. His 4 eyes stared down at the human with open contempt. "The matter is simple," announced, his deep voice filling the hall. "Earth sits in territory we have claimed. The humans will submit to rule or they will be removed." Ho did not react. He simply stood there, his hands folded in front of him. A small creature from the collective raised one of her 4 arms. She was old, her gray skin wrinkled and her eyes tired. Her name was Elder and she had lived for over 800 years. "I must speak," she said. Her voice was weak, but the hall fell silent. They were ancient. They deserved respect. "They should not do this," continued. 300 of your years ago, my people sent a fleet to Earth, 12 million soldiers, 4,000 ships. We believed the humans were primitive. They had not yet discovered space travel. They fought with swords and arrows. Laughed, and you failed against primitives. This only proves they are weak. 4 eyes grew dark. We did not fail, we simply vanished. Not one ship returned, not one soldier, not one message. We sent probes to investigate. The probes found nothing. No wreckage, no bodies, no sign that our fleet had ever existed. She paused. It was as if the universe itself had erased them. The hall murmured. Some species shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Waved his massive hand. Old stories, myths to scare children. There were always cowards. "I was there," said quietly. "I was a young officer in the command center when we lost contact. I heard the last transmission from our fleet. Do you know what it said?" She looked directly at. "It said, 'They are not what they seem. They are not what they seem. Turn back, turn ba, and then nothing. Forever.'" The hall was silent now. Ho finally moved. He took a step forward and bowed to Elder. "They have long memories," he said. "We respect that. We wish your people had chosen differently 3 centuries ago. We truly do." He turned to face the full assembly. "The humans of Earth want peace," Ho said. His voice was not loud, but somehow it reached every corner of the hall. "We want trade. We want to share knowledge. We want to explore the stars alongside all of you. We have art to show you, music to play for you, stories to tell." He smiled, and for a moment he looked almost sad. "We are not warriors by choice. We are farmers, teachers, builders, dreamers." "Pretty words," growled, "but words do not stop armies." Ho looked at him. "No, they do not." "Then you admit you cannot fight us." "I admit nothing of the sort." Ho's voice remained calm. "I am offering you peace because I know what will happen if you refuse it. I have read the histories. I know what my ancestors did to species whose names have been forgotten because there was no one left to remember them." Laughed again, but this time, some of the other did not join him. "You threaten us with fairy tales," the commander said. "They are a myth, a legend. They never existed." "They ruled half this galaxy," Ho replied. "They had technology that made your ships look like toys. They came to Earth 8,000 years ago when my people were just learning to grow wheat." He paused. "They do not exist anymore. And no, Commander, that is not a threat. It is a history lesson." Slammed his fist on the railing in front of him. "Enough. They do not fear humans. We do not fear anyone. In 30 cycles our fleet will arrive at Earth. You will surrender or you will die. Those are your only choices." Ho was silent for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small data chip. He placed it on the podium in front of him. "This is for the assembly records," he said. "When your ships arrive, Commander, they will receive one warning, just one. If they do not turn back, they will never return home. Not one ship, not one soldier, not one signal." He looked around the hall. "Every species that has attacked Earth has learned this lesson. We give you this chance because we are tired of teaching it." He bowed once more to the assembly and began to walk toward the exit. "What is on the chip?" someone called out. Ho stopped at the door, a photograph taken from orbit around Earth's moon. He did not turn around. On the dark side of the moon there is a message carved into the rock. It is written in every known language in the galaxy. It has been there for 10,000 years. The message says, "Turn back." And then he was gone. The hall erupted into noise. Species argued with each other. Some demanded to see the photograph. Others called for calm. Stood silent, his 4 eyes fixed on the door where the human had disappeared. Elder made her way slowly to the podium. Her old hands picked up the data chip. She inserted it into the display system. The hall fell silent. On the screen, Earth's moon hung in the darkness of space. And there, carved into the gray rock in letters 100 kilometers tall, was a single phrase. It was written in. It was written in. It was written in 100 other languages, including some that no one recognized anymore. "Turn back." Stared at the image. For the first time in his long career, he felt something cold move through his chest. But he had never retreated. He would not start now. "Prepare the fleet," he ordered his officers. "We leave in 10 cycles." Elder closed her 4 eyes and whispered a prayer for the dead. Not for the humans, they simply did not understand. No one ever did. The Armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 800 warships, each one the size of a small city, spread across the darkness like a swarm of angry insects. Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Conqueror of Worlds, and smiled with all 3 of his mouths. "Scan the system," he ordered. "Find their defense fleet." His officers worked at their stations. Minutes passed. The smile slowly faded from his face. "Commander," the sensor officer said, his voice confused. "There is nothing here." "What do you mean, nothing?" "No defense fleet, no orbital stations, no weapon platforms, nothing." The officer checked his instruments again. "Earth is undefended." Walked to the main viewing screen. The Sol system spread out before him. A yellow star at the center, 8 planets orbiting in silence. And there, third from the sun, a small blue world, Earth. It looked peaceful, quiet, helpless. "Perhaps they have surrendered already," one of his generals suggested. Perhaps the ambassador's words were just empty talk. Shook his head slowly. Something felt wrong. In his 50 years of conquest, he had never seen a world without defenses. Even the weakest species put up some kind of fight. But Earth just sat there, blue and green and silent, as if it did not know that death was coming. "Send the message," ordered. "Tell them they have 1 hour to surrender." The communication officer transmitted the demand. They waited. No response came. "They are either very brave or very stupid," muttered. "All ships advance to Earth orbit, standard conquest formation." The Armada moved forward. 800 ships, carrying 2 million soldiers, began the long journey toward the small blue planet. Far away, hidden in the shadow of Europa, one of Jupiter's frozen moons, Captain Min watched the fleet on her tactical display. Her ship, the UEN, was small compared to the alien warships. It carried only 200 crew members, but Min was not worried. She had been waiting for this moment for her entire career. "They took the bait," her first officer, Lieutenant Ha, said quietly. Min nodded. "They always do. They see an empty system and think we are weak. They never ask why we left it empty." Around her, 47 other human ships waited in the darkness. They were running silent, all systems powered down to minimum. No signals, no emissions, nothing that could be detected by sensors. They were ghosts in the void. "The aliens are passing Saturn," the sensor officer reported. "They will reach the marker in 6 hours." Min leaned back in her command chair. "Good. Tell Admiral Park that the guests have arrived." The message was sent using a tight beam laser, invisible and undetectable. Across the solar system, on the far side of Mars, Fleet Admiral Park Sung received the signal. He was an old man, with white hair and deep lines on his face. His grandfather had died fighting the 300 years ago. His family had served in the Earth Defense Force for generations. "So they really came," Sung said softly. His aide, a young woman named, stood beside him. "The ambassador gave them every chance to turn back, sir. They refused." "They always refuse." Sung stared at the tactical display showing the fleet. 800 ships, 2 million soldiers, the largest invasion force in 3 centuries. He was quiet for a moment. Such a waste. "Sorry." "Nothing." He straightened in his chair. "Signal all units. Execute Protocol 7. Let them enter the box." Across the solar system, human forces began to move. But they did not attack. Not yet. Instead, they waited and watched as the fleet flew deeper and deeper into what the humans called the box, a region of space between Mars and Earth that looked completely empty. It was not empty. On the Conqueror of Worlds, Commander grew more confident with each passing hour. His fleet had encountered no resistance, no weapons, no enemies. Earth grew larger on his viewing screen and he could already see the continents below. So much land, so many resources, this would be a glorious victory. "Commander," his science officer called out, "I am detecting something strange in the asteroid belt." "Strange how?" "Small energy signatures, thousands of them, no wait." The officer's 4 eyes went wide. "Millions of them." Frowned, "Explain." "They appear to be small objects, very small, each one no larger than a fist. They were dormant before, but now they are waking up." Before could respond, his communication officer shouted, "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from Earth." "Put it on screen." The image of a human woman appeared. She wore a simple gray uniform with no medals or decorations. Her black hair was pulled back, and her eyes were steady and calm. "Fleet," she said, "this is Admiral Bai of the United Earth Navy. You have entered restricted space. You have ignored all warnings. You have refused all offers of peace." She paused. "You now have exactly 60 seconds to reverse course and leave the Sol system. This is your final warning. There will be no others." Laughed, "A woman threatens us. Where is your fleet, human? Where are your weapons?" Admiral did not smile. "All around you, Commander. You simply cannot see them yet." She looked at something off-screen. 40 seconds. "You are bluffing," growled. "Our sensors show nothing. You have no." 20 seconds. Turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare all weapons. Target that transmission source and—" "Time is up," Admiral said, and the screen went dark. For a moment, nothing happened. The fleet hung in the silence of space, 800 ships waiting for an enemy that was not there. Then the asteroid belt lit up. 10,000 points of light appeared simultaneously, like stars being born. Then 100,000. Then 1,000,000. The sensors screamed with warnings as countless small objects, each one no larger than a human fist, powered on and began to move. They moved fast, faster than any missile, faster than any ship. They poured out of the asteroid belt like a river of light, and they were all heading directly toward the fleet. "What are those things?" demanded. His science officer's voice was shaking. "Unknown weapons, Commander. They are too small to track individually. There are too many to count." Captain Min watched the swarm rise from its hiding place. Millions of autonomous drones, each one carrying a single weapon that had taken humanity centuries to perfect. They had been sleeping in the asteroids for decades, waiting for this moment. "They are in the box now," Ha said. Min nodded slowly. "Yes, they are." She thought about the soldiers on those ships, young warriors who had been told they were going to conquer a weak, primitive world. They had families at home. They had hopes and dreams. In a few minutes, they would all be dead. But they had chosen this. They had been warned. They had refused to listen. "May whatever gods they believe in have mercy on them," Min whispered, "because we will not." The swarm reached the fleet, and the silence of space was broken by the sound of 800 ships beginning to die. They called it a battle. Humans had another name for it: pest control. Commander watched in horror as his mighty fleet began to fall apart. The swarm hit them like a wave of invisible needles, millions of tiny drones slamming into the ships from every direction. Each drone was no larger than a human fist. Each one carried a weapon that did not understand, and there were too many of them to count. "Shields are failing," his defense officer screamed. "They are passing through our shields." "That is impossible," roared. "Our shields can stop plasma cannons. They can stop nuclear weapons. How can they not stop objects the size of my hand?" His science officer was working frantically at his station, his 4 hands moving faster than the eye could follow. "Commander, I do not understand what I am seeing. These drones are not hitting our shields. They are going through them. They are folding space at the microscopic level. Our shields exist in 3 dimensions. Their weapons operate in 11. Did not understand the words, but he understood what he saw on his viewing screen. His ships were dying. The drones were phasing through the hulls like ghosts, appearing inside the ships and striking at critical systems. Engines, weapons, life support. They knew exactly where to hit. "The sword of victory is gone," someone shouted. "The pride of is losing atmosphere. The crusher of worlds is reporting total system failure." Ship after ship fell silent. On the tactical display, hundreds of blue icons turned red, then black. The greatest fleet in history was being erased in minutes. Grabbed his tactical officer by the arm. "Fire everything. Target those drones." "We cannot, Commander. They are too small. Our weapons cannot lock onto them." The point defense systems had been designed to stop missiles and fighters. They had been designed for enemies that could be seen and tracked. But the human drones were smaller than insects. They moved faster than thought, and they never stopped coming. On the bridge of the Captain Min watched the destruction in silence. Her tactical display showed the fleet dissolving like ice in hot water. She felt no joy. She felt no triumph. She only felt tired. "How long has it been?" she asked. Lieutenant Ha checked the time. 47 minutes since first contact. 47 minutes. That was all it took to destroy the largest invasion force the galaxy had seen in 3 centuries. 2 million soldiers, gone in less than an hour. "They genuinely did not know," Min murmured. "Know what, Captain?" Min turned to look at her first officer. Ha was young, only 30 years old. She had joined the Navy because she wanted to protect Earth. She had never seen combat before today. "They did not know that we have been preparing for them for 3,000 years, Min said. "Every species that came before them taught us something. They taught us about swarm tactics. They showed us dimensional folding. She paused. They taught us that mercy is weakness when your enemy has none." Ha was quiet for a moment. "Captain, I have studied the histories. I know about the species that attacked Earth before, but I have never understood something." "What?" "Why do they keep coming? Why do they not learn? The warning is carved into our moon. The stories are told across the galaxy. Why do they still attack us?" Min smiled sadly. "Because they do not believe it. They look at us and see a young species, a divided species, a species that spent most of its history fighting itself. They cannot imagine that such a species could be dangerous." She looked back at the tactical display. "They see our art and our music and our kindness, and they think we are soft. They do not understand that kindness and strength are not opposites." They do not understand that the same hands that paint beautiful pictures can also build terrible weapons. On the Conqueror of Worlds, Commander was still alive. His flagship had better shields than the other ships, and the drones had focused on the smaller vessels first, but now they were coming for him. The bridge was dark. Most of the systems had failed. Half of his officers were dead, killed by drones that had phased through the walls and struck them down before anyone could react. The survivors huddled in the center of the room, watching the doors with terrified eyes. "How many ships do we have left?" asked. His communication officer checked the remaining systems. 12, Commander, all badly damaged. 12 ships out of 800 in less than an hour. Had conquered 47 worlds. He had fought 100 battles and never lost. He was the greatest commander in history, and now he was going to die in the darkness, killed by weapons he could not see and enemies he could not understand. "Commander," his science officer said, his voice shaking, "I have been analyzing the drone attacks. I understand now how they work." "Tell me." "The humans have mastered dimensional technology. They can fold space in ways we thought were impossible. Their drones do not break through our shields. They simply step around them through higher dimensions. It is like—" He struggled to find the right words. "It is like trying to stop water with a net made of holes." Closed his 4 eyes. "How long have they had this technology?" "Based on my analysis, at least 2,000 years. 2,000 years. They had only discovered hyperspace travel 500 years ago. They had believed themselves to be among the most advanced species in the galaxy. But the humans had been hiding technology that made science look like children's toys." "Why?" whispered. "Why do they hide? Why do they pretend to be weak?" His science officer had no answer. On the fleet, Admiral Park Sung gave the order to cease fire. The swarm began to pull back, returning to their hiding places in the asteroid belt. They left behind the wreckage of a fleet and the bodies of 2 million soldiers. "Leave the survivors," Sung ordered. "Disable their weapons and engines but keep them alive." His aide looked confused. "Sir, Protocol 7 calls for complete elimination, no witnesses." "I know what the protocol says." Sung stared at the 12 remaining ships. "But the ambassador believes it is time to try something different. We have been destroying our enemies for 10,000 years and still they keep coming. Perhaps if we let some of them live, they will spread the message better than we can. And if they do not, if they return with a larger fleet?" Sung smiled grimly. "Then we will destroy that fleet too, and the one after that, and the one after that. We have been doing this for a very long time, Lieutenant. We can do it forever if we must." He paused. "But I am tired of it. I am tired of killing species that do not understand what they are facing. I would rather have them as friends than as corpses." He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species were watching. Other fleets were being prepared. Other commanders were dreaming of conquest. But today, for the first time in 300 years, someone would survive to tell the story. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy would finally listen. "Send a shuttle to the flagship," Sung ordered. "The witness will speak to their commander." The next chapter in human history was about to begin. Commander waited for death on the shattered bridge of his flagship. The lights had failed hours ago. The air was growing thin. Around him, the last survivors of his crew sat in the darkness, too tired and too afraid to speak. He had sent his final message he had told them what happened. He had warned them not to send another fleet, but he knew they would not listen. They never retreated. It was not in their nature. They would send more ships and those ships would die, and eventually there would be no left at all. This was how it ended, not with glory, not with honor, just silence and darkness and the cold emptiness of space. Then the proximity alarm went off. "A ship is approaching," his sensor officer said weakly. "Small, human design." Laughed, it was a bitter sound. "They are coming to finish us." But the human ship did not fire. Instead, it docked with the flagship, heard the sound of airlocks connecting, the hiss of pressure equalizing, then footsteps in the corridor outside the bridge. The door opened. A human woman stepped through. She was small by standards, barely half the height of an average warrior. She wore a simple gray uniform with no weapons. Her black hair was short, and her eyes were dark and calm. She moved without fear, stepping over debris and bodies as if she were walking through a garden. "Commander," she said. Her voice was translated by a small device at her collar. "My name is, I hold the title of witness." Struggled to his feet. His body was broken. 3 of his arms hung useless at his sides, but he was still a commander. He would face his death standing. "Have you come to kill me?" he asked. "No." The answer surprised him. "Then why are you here?" Walked closer. She stopped a few steps away from him and looked up at his face. Despite everything, despite the destruction and death that surrounded them, her expression was not angry. It was not cruel. It was almost sad. "I am here to give you a choice," she said. "Something we have not given to our enemies in a very long time." "What choice?" "You can die here with your crew and be forgotten like all the others. Or you can live. You can take your 12 surviving ships and return to you can tell your people what happened here. You can be the warning that we have been trying to send for 10,000 years. Stared at her. In his entire life he had never heard of a victorious enemy offering mercy. It was not done. It was not how war worked. "Why?" he asked. "You have destroyed my fleet. You have killed 2 million of my soldiers. Why would you let me live?" Was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke and her voice was soft. "Because we are tired, Commander. We have been fighting for so long. Every few centuries another species finds Earth. Another fleet comes to conquer us. And every time we destroy them so completely that the galaxy forgets they existed." She paused. The 17 other species whose names are lost to history. We erase them all, their colonies, every record of their existence. We did it because we had to, because they gave us no choice. She stepped closer, looking directly into his 4 eyes. "But we never wanted to. We never wanted to be monsters. We just wanted to be left alone. We wanted to grow our food and raise our children and look at the stars without fear." Her voice grew heavy. "Instead, we became the most efficient killers in the galaxy. We had to. It was the only way to survive." Felt something strange moving through his chest. He had never felt it before. It took him a moment to recognize it as shame. "You could have shown us your power," he said. "You could have demonstrated your weapons before we attacked. Why did you hide?" "Because power attracts enemies," shook her head slowly. "Every time we showed our strength, someone decided they wanted it for themselves. Someone decided that conquering Earth would give them our technology. So we learned to hide. We learned to look weak. We hoped that if we seemed unimportant, the galaxy would leave us alone." "But we did not leave you alone." "No, you did not." Reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip. "This contains everything, Commander, the true history of Earth, the records of every species that attacked us, the technology we developed to defend ourselves, and most importantly, the warnings we tried to give before each battle." She pressed the chip into his remaining good hand. "Take this home, show it to your people, show it to the Galactic Assembly. Make them understand that Earth does not want war. We want peace. We want trade. We want to share our art and our music and our stories with the galaxy. But if the galaxy keeps attacking us, we will keep defending ourselves. And we will not stop until there is nothing left to threaten us." Looked at the chip in his hand. Such a small thing, such a heavy weight. He said slowly, "They were real. They ruled half the galaxy 8,000 years ago. They came to Earth with a fleet of 10,000 ships. They thought they were gods. They thought nothing could stop them." His voice grew cold. "They were wrong. We did not just defeat them, Commander. We erased them. We destroyed their colonies. We hunted down every ship, every station, every record of their existence. We removed them from history so completely that the galaxy thinks they were a myth. Felt his legs grow weak. Why would you do such a thing? Because they killed one of our cities. 3 million humans dead in an instant because they wanted to make an example. Eyes were hard now. We made an example too. We made sure that every species in the galaxy would hear the story and think it was just a legend, a fairy tale to scare children. We thought the fear would protect us. She laughed bitterly. We were wrong. Fear fades. Stories become myths. And eventually someone else comes to test us. She turned and walked back toward the door. Go home, Commander. Tell them the truth. Tell them that Earth is not weak. Tell them that we have been watching and waiting for 10,000 years. Tell them that we do not want to erase anyone else. She stopped at the door and looked back at him. But tell them that we will, if we have to. We will do whatever it takes to protect our world and our children. That is what humans do. That is what we have always done. And then she was gone. Stood in the darkness for a long time. The data chip felt like fire in his hand. He thought about his family back home. He thought about his world, his people, his empire. He thought about what would happen if he told them the truth. They would not believe him. They would call him a coward. They would send another fleet. But he had to try, because if he did not, if no one spoke the truth, then they would suffer the same fate as they would be erased, forgotten, a myth that no one believed. Get the engines working, he ordered his surviving crew. We are going home. For the first time in history, a fleet was retreating from battle, but knew it was not retreat. It was survival. It was the only chance his people had. He looked at the blue planet on his viewing screen. Earth. Such a small world, such a peaceful appearance, such terrible, terrible secrets hiding beneath the surface. I understand now, he whispered to no one. I finally understand. The humans were not weak. They were simply patient. They had been waiting for the galaxy to grow up, to learn, to stop attacking them. And when the galaxy refused to learn, they taught the lesson in the only language that every species understood. The language of extinction. Prayed that his people would listen, because if they did not, there would be no second chance. There never was a galactic assembly, had never been so quiet. Representatives from every known species filled the great hall of Prime. They had come from across the galaxy, summoned by an emergency signal that had not been used in 1,000 years. Something unprecedented had happened, something impossible. Someone had returned from battling humans. Commander stood at the center of the hall. He was not the proud warrior who had left 3 months ago. His body was bent. His eyes were tired. The scars from the battle had not fully healed, and 3 of his arms hung in medical supports. But he was alive, and he had a story to tell. I led 800 ships to Earth, he began. His voice was rough, and it echoed in the silent hall. I brought 2 million soldiers, the finest warriors the Empire had ever produced. We thought we were going to conquer a primitive world. He paused, and his 4 eyes swept across the assembled species. We were wrong. We were so terribly, terribly wrong. He told them everything. The empty system, the silent planet, the swarm of drones that appeared from nowhere and destroyed his fleet in less than an hour. He told them about weapons that folded space, shields that stopped nothing, and technology that made science look like children's games. When he finished, the hall erupted into chaos. Species shouted at each other. Some called a liar. Others demanded to see proof. The noise grew louder and louder until a single voice cut through it all. He speaks the truth. Everyone turned to look at Elder of The old woman moved slowly to the center of the hall, her 4 arms trembling with age. She stood beside and faced the assembly. 300 years ago, my people did not believe the warnings either. We sent 12 million soldiers to Earth. Not one returned. Her voice cracked. My grandfather was among them. My mother spent her entire life waiting for him to come home. He never did. She turned to look at. You are the first to survive, the first to return with the truth. Perhaps now the galaxy will finally listen. The noise died down. The assembly watched as Ambassador Ho rose from his seat and walked to the center of the hall. He looked older than he had before, tireder, but his eyes were still calm, still steady. "You want to know the truth about Earth," he said. "Very well, I will tell you." He raised his hand, and the lights in the hall dimmed. A holographic display appeared above his head, showing images from human history. "You call us primitives," Ho began. "You see a species that took 1,000,000 years to reach the stars, and you assume weakness. You see a world of divided nations, of endless small conflicts, and you assume we are easy prey." The display showed ancient humans fighting with spears and swords. It showed wars and empires rising and falling. It showed cities burning and civilizations collapsing. What you do not see is what those 1,000,000 years made us. Every war we fought against ourselves was practice. Every nation that rose and fell taught us something new about survival. Every time we nearly destroyed ourselves, we learned how close we could push and how to pull back. The images changed. Now they showed human technology advancing, ships being built, weapons being designed, defenses being created. You evolved on peaceful worlds. You unified early. You reached for the stars with hope and curiosity. We did not have that luxury. We evolved on a death world, fighting everything, including each other, every step of the way. Ho looked around the hall. "And when you came for us, we simply treated you the same way we treated everything else that tried to kill us." Fleet Admiral Park Sung stepped forward to stand beside the ambassador. His white hair glowed in the light of the holographic display. The and 14 other species whose names have been lost to history. His voice was hard. "We gave each of them chances to leave. They did not. So we unmade them so completely that the universe forgot their names. We erased their colonies. We erased every record of their existence from every database in the galaxy." He let those words hang in the silence. "We could do the same to any of you, to all of you. We have the technology, we have the weapons. We have 10,000 years of experience in destroying those who threaten us." The assembly was frozen. No one moved. No one spoke. Some of the species looked terrified, others looked angry, but all of them were listening. Ho raised his hand again, and the holographic display changed. Now it showed something different. It showed humans painting pictures. It showed humans playing music. It showed humans dancing and laughing and holding their children. "But we do not want to," Ho said. His voice softened. "We never wanted to. We want to trade. We want to explore. We want to learn and share and grow alongside all of you." He smiled, and for a moment, he looked like a kind old grandfather instead of the representative of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. "We have art to show you, music to play for you, stories to tell. We have dreamed of meeting other species among the stars since we first looked up at the night sky. We wanted to find friends. Instead, we found enemies, but we never stopped hopping." He looked at Commander. "That is why we let you live, Commander, not because we are weak, not because we are merciful, but because we are tired of killing. We are tired of being monsters. We want to be something different, something better." He paused. "We are offering you a chance that we have not offered anyone in 10,000 years, a chance for peace, a chance for friendship, a chance to build something together instead of destroying each other." The hall was silent for a long moment. Then Elder spoke. "And if we refuse, if someone attacks you again?" Ho's smile faded. "Then we will defend ourselves as we have always done, as we always will." His voice grew cold. "Make no mistake, we are not weak. We are not soft. The kindness we offer is a choice, not a necessity. If the galaxy forces us to become monsters again, we will, and we will be very, very good at it." In the corner of the hall watched everything in silence. She was the 847th witness in human history. Her job was to record, to remember, to make sure that the truth was never forgotten. She had watched the destruction of the fleet. She had spoken to Commander on his broken ship. She had seen the fear in his eyes and the shame in his heart, and now she watched as the galaxy heard the truth about Earth for the first time. She took out her data pad and began to write her report. Today, she wrote, for the first time in 10,000 years, someone returned from battling humans. Commander of the Empire survived the destruction of his fleet and brought the truth back to the Galactic Assembly. Ambassador Ho and Fleet Admiral Park Sung spoke to the assembled species. They offered peace. They offered friendship. They offered hope. She paused and looked at the hall. The representatives were talking to each other now. Some looked scared. Some looked thoughtful. Some even looked hopeful. It was more than she had expected. She continued writing. Whether the galaxy accepts this offer remains to be seen. History suggests that they will not. Someone will refuse to believe. Someone will think they are different. Someone will come to test us again. She looked at the blue dot on the star map behind the ambassador. Earth, her home. The small world that had produced the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever known. But perhaps this time will be different. Perhaps the survivors will spread the message. Perhaps the truth will finally be heard. She saved her report and put away her data pad. Around her, the assembly continued to talk and argue and debate. The future of the galaxy was being decided in this room. Did not know what that future would hold, but she knew one thing for certain. Earth would survive. It always did. It always would. Because that was what humans did.